Some agua. Gotta get that high quality H2O. Okay. So we have officially started recording. So again, for, of course, anyone who's not able to attend or make it, we will make sure that we post a VOD. So that way, again, we'll go through the entire outline of the structure today. I'm going to try and kind of go through the meat of everything. Just, again, I like to try and do that typically in the first 10 to 15 minutes, at least as quickly and as eloquently as I can. And then from there, we will open it up to the community. So once I go through, we'll talk project overview, we'll talk current status, we'll talk what's coming next, when we're going to start. Then we'll do the Q&A from the crowd. And that's basically a format that I apply where we will just kind of call on everyone. So if there's any questions that you guys have, you can raise your hand. And if you want to come on and voice, and I'll just kind of bring people on in order. If you want to post a question in the CoD P meeting questions channel, or if you want to do it in this chat, then again, right there will be that opportunity. And I typically, again, depending on how many people are, if there's a lot of people here like there is now, then I might just have it kind of be on a first come, first serve. Typically, I usually like to call on everyone and just go down the list. So I can always try and give everyone a fair opportunity. However, if there is a lot of people, then I may just do it that way. But obviously would like to be able to hear from anyone and everyone if you do have a question, thoughts, feedback, criticism, whatever it may be. Always want to give everyone an opportunity. Okie dokie. So let me start first with, overview. So project overview is really more what you're going to find in the CoD P goals channel. So as an example, if you're viewing, and I'll just go there on my recording, but for those of you that are within the CoD project section from reaction rules where you can select that, if you go to CoD P goals, you'll see that pretty much kind of lays out what our hopeful plans are for the kingdom. And I want to be very clear that when we do start, again, for those that are either new, if you're just joining, if you've been here for a little bit, the important part is that even though we are playing a kingdom builder, and some may view it as that, some may view it as a farming simulator, some may view it as a war game. My belief has always been that if you want players to get the most out of their day-to-day experience for what you can enjoy playing this type of game, you have to be able to kind of dissect it and look at what are the most important parts about playing a kingdom builder, right? What does every individual player really want to do and get out of the game? Well, every player wants to have a max account, right? In short, like that's what everyone's grinding towards. Everyone wants to be max building level, max tech level, max VIP, right? You want to try and unlock as many legendaries as you can. Like these are just basic foundational things that every individual wants. And so, okay, if we start there as our baseline, as our foundation, how do we get to that point? How do we get into a situation where you can arguably have unimpeded progression and development? Well, what you do is you try and create a situation or an environment where you're not having a lot of lawless PvP, you're not hopefully running into rogues, you're trying to set processes and infrastructure up to address those things early, and pitching it where everyone has an opportunity to grow and to develop in some form of an unimpeded way. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to PvP. It doesn't mean that those things won't happen. But there's a big difference between lawless PvP and organized PvP, right? And I guess the short example there is you can do a lot of amazing things when a kingdom is truly on board, right? You can have big wars. You can have an entire war in the kingdom with everyone, when you are unified, but you can do it in a way that isn't going to cause player drop-off. For those of you who may or may not be familiar with player drop-off, so happy this water's right next to me, oh my god. Right, the idea behind player drop-off is that, think of a new kingdom that comes out. And when the new kingdom comes out, all the people that are downloading the game and anyone that wants to restart or do a project, right, they're going to go to the newest kingdom. The moment that the next new kingdom comes out, the player influx into your kingdom has now stopped, right? For pretty much all intents and purposes, right? You're not getting any new players that are coming in, and the only people that may be coming in at that point are ones that are maybe a part of a project or just waiting to restart later. So at that point, your glass is full. Now imagine that your glass or your bag of water has tiny little holes that are being pricked into the bag, and you're just constantly being drained. That pretty much defines drop-off. But what are the actual holes that are being poked? Like, what are those things? Well, those things are a culmination of players that just want to go and hit and attack everyone. Alliances that just want to run the entire region and won't allow for any other alliances to grow in the region. It could be alliances that are region hopping from one zone 1 to another, and they're just, causing chaos, wreck in their, havoc in their, lost my train of thought there, but you know where I'm going with this. So, right, the idea is that there's a lot of things that factor into what can happen with player drop-off, and the idea behind it is, and not only does every player want to grow, but they also want to be able to play the game, right? And playing the game means you can enjoy Zone 1, you can enjoy all the things you can do in an alliance, you can try to get to Zone 2, you can try to get to Zone 3. Like, these are things that everyone wants to do. Regardless if they may or may not know it yet. And these are very simple, again, basic things that the game offers. And so this idea that we have this, I don't want to call it a stigma, but that we have this perception that has been almost created and generated by kind of a lack of information and direction from the developers, but also because of what you typically see from content creators, right? And this isn't a slight or a blame on any creators for that matter. It's just kind of what the market and the industry has turned into. If you go and you watch creators, right, a portion of my content is well included, but I'm a little different, I would argue, than other creators for certain types of content that I cover. But if you go and you look at any of the big creators from Rock or Lords Mobile, State of Survival, etc., right? These are kind of like your big 3 kingdom builders in the game. Even, when I was doing Infinity Kingdom at the time, there was other creators there. What you'll notice is that the majority of the content is more progression-based. So it's content that is about, how can I level my account up? What are the best hero pairings? How do I level my heroes? What's the best gear? How can I place well in this event? What are wars and fights that are going on? And so a lot of that content all focuses around more progression, kind of aggressive, action-based content. And you typically do not see content where people are talking about alliance management, kingdom management, player psychology. Why do certain trends happen the way that they do in a kingdom? I can go into the CoD Discord right now, and I could probably find a bunch of questions where people are asking, why is this happening in my kingdom? I saw a question yesterday or 2 days ago where someone asked, what's the best way that I can play as a free-to-play? And I think someone had answered where all you need to do is just keep joining the best alliance. Like, that's your goal. Like, just join the top alliance and you'll be set. And it was funny seeing that because it really embodies what, and I realize I'm going off on a tangent here, just bear with me. I'm going to reel it back in. I have at least that amount of self-awareness. So, and, Trip can always slap me if she wants. So, but the idea here is that because this is kind of the way that the game has been perceived for so long, and I'm talking even back in games like Game of War in 2013, and your Art of Conquests, and more than that, right? That have been out since then. It kind of has become what the atmosphere around Kingdom Builders is, which is we need to go and fight, we need to kind of do war, and it doesn't really focus on educating the average player on all the other intangibles, all the other X factors that go into what you're doing. And what this really culminates in is you're letting the game play you instead of you playing the game, right? And a great example of this is if you look at an event like SLE, which is an MGE comparison in Rock, right? For those of you that have played Rock and you understand MGEs, you hopefully know that this event is just arguably it's a kingdom killer. The event itself is designed specifically for spenders. Now, the developers don't tell you that. They don't educate you on that information. They don't tell you anything about that. But because the event has legendary sculptures or legendary heads, if you will, that you can use to skill up your heroes, and those rewards obviously get better based on a leaderboard ranking, you inherently will have spenders that will invest into this event more than regular. But you'll also have free-to-play trying to invest and compete as well. And I've been in kingdoms, and I'm sure some of you have as well, where you it almost turns into like this free-to-play versus pay-to-win type mentality. And that can cause rifts between each other. And so that is something that you'll see happen in those types of events. That's why I usually recommend and I advise free-to-play, like, look, just don't do this event. Basically, just do the bare minimum task rewards and then invest all your resources and time into other events where you're getting a better return on investment, right? And just let the people who want to spend kind of play it out. But the challenge is that people can get upset in that type of an event. I mean, I've seen kingdoms fall apart because people didn't follow fixed rules, they didn't follow placements. They just kept leveling up, and some other people didn't like it that, one spender was, placing higher than another one was. I mean, you pick your poison at that point. But this, and I'm only going to give one example, but this just goes to show you, right, what has kind of been created in Kingdom Builders. And it kind of leads me all full circle back to what this type of project is and how it is different from probably any other project you've ever been a part of. I mean, I can say that confidently, but humbly, hopefully at the same time. I put a lot of work into projects that I invest my time in, my passion, my energy, my love for it. My view has always been that, I am a steward, right? I am here to support the group and to make sure that we follow through on the promises and the commitments that we have made to the players that are deciding to join my project / this project over another, right? There's a level of accountability and responsibility that project leaders should have where you are not being flippant, so to speak, right? You're not kind of falling victim to things like the megaphone effect or you're losing integrity, as you go. So anyways, to say all that, let me now kind of get into general stuff now that you've favored me with my soliloquy, if you will, my dissertation. So what I'm going to say now is, right, in this project, and just kind of going through some of the goals, right, the idea is that, we're obviously going to have an alliance in each region. And the big reason there is because when you have an alliance in each region, it allows for you to put a pulse on the kingdom. For all intents and purposes, everyone starts off in Zone 1. So you can make the argument that Zone 1 is the entire kingdom. Being able to have a pulse on it just means that you're in tune. You're in touch with what's happening in the kingdom. You are, forming relationships. You're building bonds with the other alliance leaders, with officers. You're establishing rapport. These are things that are really important to do. In addition, by having an alliance in each region, you also have a lot of flexibility and adaptability in being able to support one another, right? You could arguably have 3 alliances go into one region, 2 to 3 at any time, with the exception of Kaltia, because it's, again, the ending one where the wall is, and then on the opposite side, burning lands. But with the exception of those 2 Zone 1 regions, we have the ability to now support and or assist any of our alliances up to 2 to 3 alliances going in to help. So that's one of the benefits. The other big benefit is that by putting an alliance in each region, it allows for us to maximize on the recruiting potential for the entire kingdom. Why? Because for anyone who hasn't watched my starting guide video where I kind of go through some important things that every player should know before you start playing, is that you're limited on the amount of recruiting that you can do in a Zone 1 region. For example, you're assigned your starting region. Like, let's say you start off in Kaltia, and the alliance is created in Kaltia, where you can only recruit players that are also in Kaltia. Now, there are some exceptions. For example, if an alliance that's in Sophrostia goes through the level 1 pass and they capture a behemoth, they can then recruit people from Kaltia. Right, so it's kind of weird how it works in that sense. You can also use something like Resurgence, but typically that's more of a last resort, right? If you use that after, I believe it's level 12, I think, 12 or 11, then what happens is that allows for you to move to another Zone 1 region, but 80% of your troops end up going immediately to the hospital. Your prestige is reset, but you get refunded 50% of it. So it's kind of a big hit, not as big in the beginning as if you were halfway or towards the end of the season. And then the last option is, I think it's with Unscarred. Should be the 3rd or 4th last Augerstone chapter. And that is where Cross-Region Alliance will enable. And that basically just allows for you to move to any region at that point freely. So again, with saying all of that, right, it's important that we, again, think about like I was telling some of the people earlier, we were having a little chat last night, right? You you got to apply a little Bobby Fischer, a little Magnus Carlsen to it, right? Where you got to think 15, 20, 30 steps ahead. It's not just about thinking now, it's about thinking long term, right? What are we going to do down the road? How are we going to invest now that will pay us dividends later on? And by being proactive and doing those things as early as we can is how we're going to increase our odds to be successful. Which then leads me into my next point, which is that projects are never a guarantee. You should never go in, and if anyone ever tells you that their project is absolutely going to be successful, they are full of shiitake mushrooms. And yes, I love Spy Kids, the old one, not the new ones. Projects really can only be increased or decreased in their percentage of how successful or rate of success that it can be. Right? So you're either going to have a higher chance to be successful or a lower chance to be successful. There's never a guarantee in doing projects. Trust me, I've done 9 projects across 2 games. This will be my 10th project now in a 3rd game. And as always, right, I like to be transparent with that. I have a resume channel for anyone who's interested. If you go to CoD P resume, you scroll all the way to the top, you can see my resume. There's also video references for projects I've done as well. I think it's very important that when we do projects, for anyone that does, you are able to see their history. They're able to speak to that, and they can answer questions. I often get questions where people ask me, why did this happen in this kingdom, or why did you step away and leave, and being able to answer those questions where you don't take offense to them is really important. But I like to have a dedicated channel for that so people can at least educate themselves first before they do ask me any questions. But I'm always happy to take time out to answer. Let me see here. Where am I going next with this? So we talked about, again, alliances, why we want them to be in each Zone 1 region. The goal is not to control everything. The goal is to nurture. Right? Think of it like planting a garden. You plant a garden, you put a lot of time and energy in, make sure it gets sunlight, make sure it gets food, make sure it's watered, clear it out of any bugs, maybe you fence it off so animals can't get to it. You're nurturing its growth, and typically it's organic growth. And this is important when we're going into a kingdom because let's say, for example, and this kind of goes a little bit back to what I was saying before, let's say you got 20,000 people that get into the kingdom. If we start saying, hey, we're just going to take over regions, you're alienating and isolating out, on average 10 to 15 alliances per region, especially with how popular COD is right now. And again, if you look at the COD Discord, they're getting crazy influx numbers there. And with the rate that they're coming out with kingdoms, there's so much potential right now to have a full and very active and healthy kingdom. And so in order to nurture a lot of that, you have to give alliances and players opportunities to play the game, right? To grow as well. And one of the ways you do that is by splitting up regions where you don't aim to take over everything, but you look to maybe settle in like a third or a quarter of the territory. And this will give other alliances the opportunity to see if they can grow, if they can emerge, if they can be active and healthy. And worst case, if they're unable to, well, let's say there's just no active alliances. Like an example, maybe no one goes to Darlin. Well, awesome, right? More Foresteria, right? Get your num-nums, girlfriend. And so in those situations, we'll adapt, we'll monitor these things on a day-to-day and a week-to-week. And if there's opportunities to expand beyond that, right, as we kind of start out in this 1/3 to 1/4 capacity, then we will. But it doesn't mean that we're going to go out and just take everything. I think that's the most unhealthy thing that any projects or alliances that are going into kingdoms can do. That's my opinion. It doesn't mean that that's the only way to play the game, however, right? Again, you can look at multiple examples of projects where it's just 1 or 2 alliances that are going in, and that's their game plan. It's just, we're just going to take over the entire region. We're going to cap all the behemoths. That's going to increase our cap, even though, the same buffs don't double up. First occupation awards aren't going to double up. So, but there's obviously some things. And again, to each their own, right? Everyone's going to kind of play the way they want to play. One of the big reasons I like to take time to explain this is because my hope is that people, when they decide to join projects, they're doing it for the right reasons, right? You're doing it because you have good intentions, and you're looking to join a project because you believe in that project and you believe what it stands for. That's always my hope. To me, it just doesn't make sense on why people would join a project that they don't like or they don't find similar views in or shared views in, because to me that just wouldn't be enjoyable. Let me see where else I'm going with this. Got to make sure I cover everything here. I mean, things like kingdom conduct, right? I mean, again, I think, and I hope this kind of goes without saying, but, treat others the way you expect to be treated or you would like to be treated. If you think something is somewhat borderline, take it to private. Or, better yet, pick a neutral word. Dictionary has a lot of words. There's a lot of good opportunities there. Let's see here. So like SLE, right? So Strongest Lord event, which is basically the MGE in CoD. Most likely what's going to happen, and I actually have to update this as well, but what's probably going to end up happening here is we're just not going to try and fix anything. And I'm going to explain the reason why. Because of the way that the home kingdom is set up, with it being a little bit more alliance-focused and based just in the game in general, it's more of an uphill battle on trying to coordinate and get everyone on board. Now, that doesn't mean it's impossible, but it will take a lot of work. Right? Because in order to truly have a fixed or even semi-fixed type event where you're trying to place people in certain positions, right? Because the idea behind it is really when you're doing fixed events for things like for MGEs and SLEs is that you're trying to give the people who are able to maximize and utilize those heroes or commanders, right, the best, to put them in the best position to not only unlock those, but to get as many heads and sculptures that they can, and then also to try and get as many of those people to have that specific hero or commander unlocked as well. And so because regions are not only because the regions are locked off, but just because of the more alliance focus, a little bit more than Rock, it can be more challenging. And so it's better to not set an expectation and underachieve compared to setting an expectation and overachieving, right? And so for that reason, we will monitor it, but for the most part, our efforts will be focused on educating and informing the player base on who should and who we recommend to participate and maybe not participate in the event, and then also give some people just some good information, kind of like what I was talking about before. We talked about Zone 1 distribution already, alliances and merging, right? So this is something that I often get questions about when it comes to merging things, which is that, right, merging, in my opinion, really should only ever be done at certain points in time. If your first thought is, oh, we need to merge to survive, that's absolutely the wrong mindset. There are plenty of other routes that you can exhaust first before you get to that point. I can't tell you how many kingdoms I've been in where, and I've done projects where I've had leaders that have said, oh, hey, I think it'd be a good idea if we merged with this other alliance. And then I asked them, I said, well, have you tried this, and this yet? Oh, no, we haven't. But what about that merge, though? And then I'm, chuckling and laughing. And not in a mean way, but just from the approach that it's good to understand that your first thought may not always be the best solution, or better yet, the only solution. And so this is important on why it's good to assess things. And for me, in my position here with the group, I feel that I bring a good level, a healthy level of knowledge and experience for projects I've ran, kingdoms that I've had the opportunity to help shape and build out foundation bases for my time across multiple games. And so, again, feel free, and this leads into my next point as well, is please feel free to bug me. Again, slide into my DMs and, hit your boy up. Hopefully PG rated, thank you. But again, right, if anyone who messages me, I always get back to everyone. If anyone ever wants to set up a time to meet with me for a voice chat, if I have time, I'll always do it. I try to make myself as accessible as I can outside of my, somewhat hectic schedule with the kiddos, with my little baby, putting out content, and then also dedicating, a good portion of time to this project. When I do projects, like I was saying before, I really put my all into it. They're very important to me. In that same breath, my expectation is always not to do more projects. My expectation is always to do one and done. That's just how it always is. I don't think anyone should go into doing projects where it's like, oh yeah, I'm already prepping the next one just in case this doesn't work out. No, you really should give your all to something, and then hopefully you put your best foot forward, and you kind of live with what happens in the results. But from project to project, I do believe it's important to grow from those things. You look at, you assess appropriately, you analyze, you look at what the opportunities were, the challenges, the hurdles, the things you did well, the things you could have done better, and then you hopefully continue to grow from that. What else do I have? Kingdom Mission and Vision. I know we talked a little bit about that already. I guess the kind of long-term, because I might get this question, the kind of long-term vision, because again, right, we obviously are going to merge with potentially 3, if not more, other kingdoms when Season 2 comes up. The idea really behind a group is it's hopefully something that can be long-lasting, right? You can carry that group with you season to season to season. And you can rely on those people, and then you can pick up new people along the way, right? That's really what, in the shortest words, is my hope when building out this kind of project. Then we get to PvP in the kingdom. My view on PvP is very simple, right? We are always in kind of defensive mode, but this is the thing about having a lot of people in a project. The idea when you're going into a kingdom is that you want to have the biggest stick. It doesn't mean you're going to bully people with that stick, but if you have the biggest stick going in, it allows for you to have a certain amount of leverage, clout, and allows for you to have a larger presence in the kingdom, where that often, and I can tell you because I've seen this happen before, that can deter other players and or other alliances from trying to go rogue, from trying to cause a mess in the kingdom and just attack everyone, right? It's not like we're trying to be America and police the world, but I do think having a healthy level of oversight and support, more so, for the kingdom, because we want to keep as many active players here, and we also want to try and give as many players a good introduction and experience into the game, right? Think about kingdoms you've played in or alliances you've played in where maybe the alliance you joined wasn't that organized. Maybe the leader didn't send mails. Maybe they weren't on that much, or they didn't engage or talk to people or respond or reach out to players. Maybe you started playing a kingdom builder for your first time and you got attacked in the first kingdom that you played in on the first day. All of those things are turnoffs, right? Those are things that can arguably make players quit the game entirely. And so by trying to create an environment, I mean, we're kind of almost like ambassadors. That's kind of a good way, right? A way to look at it is that we want to try and be ambassadors in that way. Why? Because the more active players that we have in a kingdom, the better player retention we have, and the more we're able to do in that kingdom overall. Yeah? Oh, is this for me?
Yeah.
Damn killer, okay. Oh, for real? Let me see. You love me?
Yeah.
I hope so, girl. I birthed you. At least half of you. This is great.
Hey,
Thank you so much. I love it.
it's for mommy, it's for daddy, and Melinda.
Okay, thank you so much. What a killer. Anyways, so sorry. As I was saying, that kind of goes into, excuse me, I guess to that part. So again, with the PvP, the hope is that we will do organized PvP, right? We're going to now. It doesn't mean that some of you may not be able to flex your PvP legs. I understand that some of you have an itch, and trust me when I say there may be opportunities for that itch to be scratched. And what I mean by that is, let's say that there are rogues in the kingdom. Let's say there's rogue players or rogue alliances, and all they're doing is go around and hitting people, or they just don't care. Those types of players, right, usually in alliances, will typically like to reach out first. I think always extending the hand first is important, right? Trying to do some diplomacy. And if it just comes down where we exhaust all the options and they just don't care, or the individual or individuals don't care, then yeah, it's open season, right? YOLO Brick Squad 420. Burn that house to the ground, Targaryen style. But outside of that, we'll obviously make a lot of efforts to do organized and fun PvP, whether that's alliance on alliance, multiple alliances, things like, capture the flag type stuff. Trust me when I say, because of how the PvP system is in COD, there's a lot of really cool creative ways that we can engage people. And let me explain something real quick when it comes to PvP. There's nothing more of a turnoff when you as a player are forced to do PvP, when you either do not want to, or you're just not ready to, or you don't feel comfortable in doing PvP. The way that you're going to feel more comfortable about engaging in PvP is when you are confident in what you know and what you know how to do. And that doesn't come from forcing people into PvP. It comes from informing them. It comes from educating them. It comes from giving them best practices and tips and some type of a guideline to follow. So they have. Remember, not everyone is you. Not everyone is coming into the game with your same level of knowledge and experience and understanding of PvP mechanics, etc. So the way that we really should try to approach things is looking at everyone as no one knows anything, right? So you're really trying to come at it from, not where you're necessarily babying people, but where you're always being willing to take that first step in helping someone to have a better understanding, right? You take time to answer a question, and if you don't know the answer, you ask. Always better than guessing at an answer, right? Remember, asking is always free. So anyways, that is, I think, covers the PvP side. Alliance balancing. This is really important, and I want to touch on this. So the balancing, and we're almost done, and then I'm going to open the floor up. So with alliance balancing, I know I had mentioned early on, and this is something that I truly believe in, I think is really important for kingdoms. And I'll give you one example, and then I'll kind of go into what our plan will be around it. I'm sure there's a lot of you that have been in kingdoms where you had AVA events, right? Alliance versus alliance events, where you have the leaderboard, and it could be something, where it's, hey, everyone has to go out and attack barbarians or PvE units, or how many forts can you all kill, or how much gathering can everyone do, as an example. And then that will get put onto a leaderboard, and you'll see how your alliance is doing versus other alliances. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen alliances just completely get deflated and demotivated when they're in a kingdom that is kind of being ran by a mega alliance, or you have one or two alliances that are just so much stronger than the others, where it disinterests people in the lower ranked alliances from wanting to participate and to invest their resources as a cumulative group in order to try and push the board. When you put people in a situation where they can clearly and visually see that there is a big gap and a difference in power, that visually is a turnoff for some people. What is better to do is, if you are able to have alliances, our alliances as an example, at some point in time, all close in power, that is a turn on. Why is it a turn on? Because you have now told everyone that every single alliance can basically win or place in first for any event. And when you give people that hope, that realistic expectation that they can grab and they can win events, they're more likely to participate. It's human psychology, right? Now, it doesn't mean that right, that there's never going to be people who are, it doesn't mean you're going to convert everyone. But it is a better approach than kind of what is left to itself, right? If you're just kind of leaving it to default or leaving it to the masses, it is a better way to do it, where you're going to be able to engage a lot more players. And you'll be able to see how that branches and expands from that, where people will be more socially engaged in chat. You might see more conversion rates for people joining the Discord. You might see more people that actually engage in PvP battles or try it out or be willing to. There's a lot of good and benefit that can happen from that. Now, how that will actually work, because like I was saying, with the difficulty in recruiting and being able to move regions, most likely what will happen is we'll probably do it towards the end of the season, and or we'll do it at the beginning of the next season, right? And the big thing that we're mainly going to do is distribute rally leaders and garrison captains, and then trying to distribute maybe a few people here and there to get the alliances as close in balanced power as we can. And the reason for that is because with the union system in CoD, you can arguably have anywhere from 4 to 6 alliances push through a zone at any given time. You can still do pass swaps to get other alliances in as well, even beyond that. And so from this, the idea is, if you can fight people on multiple fronts, and I talked about this in my PvP video covering SS3 or SS1-3, is it just gives you a lot more options. It gives you more flexibility when you're fighting and when you're in war than if you only have 1, 2, or 3 alliances. And so the idea behind this is that if every alliance, and this kind of goes into what I was saying, if every alliance has a rally leader, if every alliance has, just essentially, like a good example would be this. Let's say we have 7 alliances. We look at the top 21 players and we just say, look, we're going to try to divvy them up in threes as best we can across the 7 alliances, with some considerations, of course. I'm not saying it's going to be, a 1-to-1 type ratio. But trying to do something like that to the best of our abilities will also, you have to understand, like when you're a top player, when you're a strong player, you have a level of like, right? You have you have some clout that is associated with that. And so if you're let's say you're an average player that's in an alliance, and you see that you have some strong players in there that can run rallies and can defend passes, garrison cities, etc. That is a boost of confidence for you as a player in that alliance compared to if you didn't have anyone. And it also helps because sometimes those people can be like the on-field captains, or they can be like the people that they can be players that inspire others to want to go out and fight, because every alliance has what they need. And because every alliance has what they need, they also recognize that it's fair across the board, i.e. balanced. And these are really important things to understand, or just to at least appreciate, right? If you can kind of get where I'm coming from. And so these are things that I just believe are really important to build on as good foundations. So that'll be something that we'll do, but again, that'll be more towards the end of the season / beginning of the new season. I'm trying to think right now. I already talked about objectives, so yeah, I think we're good. Okay, cool. So let's do this now. Where am I at? 35-ish minutes? Okay, I lied. I said 15 to 20? Yeah, I doubled that pretty easily. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor up now to any questions. I'm going to start with people that would like to come on and ask a question on voice, and then I'll throw you back to the crowd. And then after we go through everyone that would like to ask a question on voice, I will then start taking a look at the COD meeting questions channel. So we'll do that first. So if you have a question and you would like to come on voice, you can raise your hand. There should be a little hand icon here on this channel, and you're more than welcome to. I'm also shocked that we've been sustaining 100 people for this long. It's giving me a lot of hope, and I'm probably going to cry later. But more tears of joy. Z's typical BN, this guy. Facts. Who do I got? Here we go. Mowgli. Let's go ahead and bring you on, big guy.
Hello.
Hey. Hit me with it.
So, actually, I've got multiple questions. One question is what we've asked ourselves in our alliance already about tags. If we are going to do tags around all of our alliance, like we all have the same tags, or is it just like alliance based?
As far as tags within your player profile, your name?
Yeah. So within our player names, like tags that, like, I don't know how to say it, that tell other peoples that look at our alliance or profile that we all belong together, like something like this.
I see. I mean, to be honest, it's really up to you guys. I don't. It doesn't matter to me necessarily. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, everyone's going to have their own alliance tag for the alliances that they're in. But if you're talking about, having a similar profile picture or adding in some type of, like, I guess, an unofficial-ish tag to your actual player name in-game, then that's really up to, again, if anyone wants to do that. It's not a requirement or
Yes, sir,
or
sure.
mandatory at all.
Okay. And another question was if there are any like website or something about talent trees, because I personally couldn't find any talent trees for like all the commanders that I want to use.
Yeah, I have a couple videos on talent trees. If you just go on my channel and just type talent
Yes.
or talent tree,
Okay.
you should be able to find some. The thing I will say about talent trees, and I'm going to come out with another video on this, just a very brief inclusion here, is my belief on talent trees is that people should learn how to build talent trees and not rely solely on
Yes.
copying other talent tree builds. This will be so much better for anyone, just in general. In the long run, if you understand how to build a talent tree, what you should be looking at, and the factors that go into it. And I'm going to be doing a video like that, because to me, I think that's a lot more important. And I think there's a lot more value on that if you can educate yourself so you don't necessarily have to rely on other videos or asking other people their trees, but instead maybe using those as reference points when you're comparing against what you're already doing. I just think that's a lot healthier if we take more of an educational stance on the community rather than me or any other creator. And again, I'm not slighting anyone, but just in general, that's just my opinion on it compared to me saying, well, hey, here's my talent tree, just copy it, and then wait till I do the next one, copy that, wait till I do the next one, copy that, and it kind of just becomes this vicious cycle,
Yeah.
if you will.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah.
Yeah. Those were all of my questions.
Okay, awesome. No, thanks, Mowgli. I appreciate
Thank
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me move you back. All right. Does anyone else want to come on? I don't bite hard. So, and again, if not, It's like, you know what's kind of cool? I could see when you guys post in the chat, which is kind of cool. I didn't know that they did this in stage channels. It actually, I don't know if you guys can see this too, but it like a little blurb will come up. It's like a brief overlay and then it fades. And I can see like the posts that you guys make without actually having to have the text channel open. It's pretty cool. So it's I really like how they're really doing the podcast style here with the stage channel. Anyways, it's a random thought. Okay, ooh, we got a couple more hands here. Oh, bam, bam. All right, Voldemort. Sorry. He who must not be named. I just called on you. Pretty little thing. And if not, I can always go to the next person here in a sec. All right, let's see. Vold. Oh, you just okay. Let's go to OG. OGZ. Oh, Jeezy, we have called you on. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Let me know when you want to come back. Anyone else? Does anyone else want to come on and allow others to hear your luscious voice? There will be no drama, right? Everyone's voice is equally appreciated here. Yeah. OG, I just accepted you to come on. I think you have to click it. So, like, once you accept and I do it, I think you have to click something else to join, is how it goes. So, no? Okay, let's try null here. Should be. There we go. See, null got in.
Hello?
All right, you're on.
Hello?
Hit us up. Don't embarrass your family.
I didn't know if you could hear
Go.
me. Okay, I have a couple of questions. So first my question is I know that in your video, okay, I know you were talking about ranks, okay, and that there's basically, you know, the ranks 1 through 3, and then of course, you know, you have the officers and the leads. But I did notice that in your video, you did make a few suggestions on, I guess, a different approach that some people do not do. Is that in the rank 1 is basically the newer players that just joined. They might be semi-active. And then in the rank 2, you have the little bit more active than semi-active. But then in the rank 3, you have your extremely active people, your fighters, all that type of stuff. And then, of course, when it comes to the officer positions, there's certain criteria that you want people to kind of review people to consider them as to be an officer, correct? But for me, what kind of system and play do you have for the people that are versus just straight up removing them from the alliance after we come to you and we discuss things with you and you say yes, they're a problem person. Do you take, like, let's say you have a rank 2 person, right, and they're semi-active, okay, but they become a real problem. They're causing problems not only for your alliance but in the kingdom, stuff like that. Now, would we demote them down to rank 1 and give them an opportunity to prove themselves to be able to grow back up to a rank 2? Or would you just straight have us remove them from alliance because they've gotten way out of hand and they have become too much of a problem? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of that is really up to the leads themselves. I mean, I think we'll have guidelines on, you know, potentially how to follow. I think if something like that is happening, you know, usually a conversation is good to have first to try and identify the cause. You know, why is that person acting out? Why are they saying those things? Is that just a part of their typical, you know, habit and their characteristics? So, you know, it might be one of two conversations where it's more of, you know, hey, just kind of educating and informing on how we do things here, or it could be, maybe reiterating if it's something that they're already familiar with. So it may just depend on how you approach that, but I do think reaching out first and trying to have a conversation to identify why it's happening. And then, you know, depending on how that goes, you know, you can kind of go from there. You know, do you think it's something where you might have to demote? Did they take it well? Were they receptive? Did they, you know, do you feel like you might have got through to them? Or did they just not care and blow you off? And, you know, if that's the case, then, you know, maybe just kind of, you know, send them right to a final warning. And it's, hey, look, if this happens again, I'll just let you know that you just won't be welcome in the alliance anymore, but you're more than happy to go and find another one. And that may also apply across all of our alliances. That's one of the good things about us having a group and being unified, is that we can communicate and coordinate between each other. So it's not just they won't be in one alliance, but they may not be allowed back in any of our alliances. And to be honest, I think those are more outlier situations. That's not something that happens too typically. I would like to hope, especially in this type of an organized group, for the most part. But yeah, if that answers the question, I mean, that might be how I would go about it. But it really is up to you guys. I think, like I said, for me, providing some support, providing some guidelines, giving you some advice, or just maybe a different approach to it, always happy to do. But I really, a big part of it is that I don't necessarily want to micromanage that much, but always happy to give an approach to do something.
Now, my next question is that I know that it can be conflicting when leaders of projects or leaders of alliances come across each other, and they kind of have the same, I guess, views or goals on what they want, being that they're in the same region or in the same project aspect as the other person. So if, for example, if an alliance leader comes to me and says, "Hey, you're taking this part of the territory, but I also want this part of the territory." And I say, is there any way that we can come to a compromise, or any way that we can figure this out or work this out or whatever? And he says, "No, I either want you to give it to me, or we're going to attack your people, or let me, talk to the project leader, and I'll tell him that, either he'll give it to me or we'll attack, that type of deal." So when you get put in a position like that, is it best just to say, the best we can do is compromise with you, and if you're not willing to compromise, then yes, you can, I'll refer you to my project leader and he'll take it from there, basically.
Got you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, that is one way that it could happen. I would really like to get to a point where, as council and as the management team, we have those conversations on how to approach that. So that way, you or another lead or another officer, right, who's ever kind of the point person for that region, is able to also have those conversations. Kind of goes back to one of the things I was saying before, where it's important that I think everyone learns how to do certain things, right? Especially the video I think you're referring is the leader guide video that I put out. And I think one of the things I talked about, what's good about being a leader, and before you decide to, is, you kind of want to be a jack of all trades. You want to know how to do everything, because it's important to be able to not only have a pulse on all parts of your alliance, but also being able to roll out or to provide roles and descriptions and tasks and responsibilities to your officers, right? Because you have a kind of semi-good or introductory understanding of how to do those things. And so I think the same thing, right? But however, if it's one of those things where, you're unsure, and that goes for anyone, right? You can always reach out and ask me, and, I'm always happy to give some advice on how to do something. But I always would like the people who are there in the regions as the leaders / point people for those situations to try and do them first themselves, and kind of use me as more of a last resort in that way, if something like that was to arise.
And then the last thing I have is, I know it's sound kind of weird, but okay. So for example, we kind of have some territory ideas, based off of us discussing the leaders and stuff, and you, of course. But what if? Okay, and it's just a what if. Of course, I mean, we can adjust for it being territory people. I kind of want to know if you want to be involved in it or not. What if they're planning on putting their alliance fortress or core fortress in the same spot that we are, okay, and they're in the same region that we're in. So if we come across to where we both want to put the core fortress or alliance fortress in the same spot, the same location, okay, but neither one of us kind of want to give in on that, hey, this is a prime spot, I've already picked it, this is where I want to be at, and then the other person says the same thing. Do you want us just to basically completely handle it entirely, or do you want us to come to you and say, hey, we've already talked to the leader, they're having a conflict with this just like we are, do you want to be involved in solving this, or do you want us to solve this? Because me, I'm a territory main person, so I like to solve the territory stuff myself. But you are the leader of the project, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes or not involve them. So I need to kind of know where that relays right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think easy enough just having a healthy level of communication, right? We'll have channels and things like that set up. For example, we did this in my previous project where we'd have we'll have like the Kaltia region Diplo, we'll have Sophrostia Diplo, stuff like that, right? So that way leads and or officers can basically keep everyone up to date. So everyone in management is always apprised, right? So it's good to have communications, and also so everyone kind of is in the know, right, of what's happening in each region. Whether that's someone providing a daily update and a quick summary on just what has happened, right? Because often the channels themselves are more designed for like just text conversation. So having someone who's like a dedicated person or whomever is able to provide somewhat of a kind of daily summary on what's happening is great. Outside of something like Diplo or diplomacy, where you're then doing territory in that case, again, I know I've kind of given guidelines out to the leadership team, so that way everyone kind of has an idea of where they should be starting out and what should be happening. Now, if there's ever conflicts with other alliances to that point, I think the big thing is to assess what the strength is of the other alliance. Is it something where we can kind of power through, but it's just we have to do a little bit of hand holding and hopefully explain to them in a nice way where, look, we don't want to just we're not going to attack you or anything, but if we need to clear a flag or something like that, and then we also say, hey, look, there's an open space over here, there would be an opportunity to move there, right? It's kind of going through those motions, doing the due diligence before we get to a point where we may need to destroy a flag or something like that, right? Like that should never be the first thing that we look to do. It should be, reaching out, having good discussions, and that comes from establishing some good rapport early. And that's something I'll be doing, day one, day two. I'll just be focusing on reaching out to leads for all the alliances across the entire kingdom. Getting chats set up and including all the leaders and the management team in those as well, so everyone can be apprised. You guys can kind of see what I do, how I go about it, and that way everyone's in constant communication, right? I think that's one of my biggest things is, just always communicate, always give an update, give a heads up, notification, friendly reminders. Those are always great to do, right? So that way, we're being as transparent as we can. But it also helps people that are offline and that are coming online, so they can kind of see and catch up with what they need to. But I hope that answers the question a little before that.
Yes, it does. Also the other thing I'll say is that for a lot of people, not just some of us here, I think we have my friend Outlaw's always saying, where do you see yourself in a year from now playing this game? Like a long-term goal, okay? And so I think that it's personally, I just think that it's good to kind of everybody get to know each other and know what your long-term goals are and where do you see yourself in a year from now. Are you going to keep on playing the game, or are you going to move on to something else? Where are you going to be at? So everybody has different expectations in the game, like you've said before. So I just think that that's a good thing to kind of pinpoint and focus on right off the bat, I guess, whenever you're having people who want to come into your alliance or focus on, hey, the project itself. Hey, this is a good project. This is where I want to be at in a year from now, stuff like that. So for me, it's I think we should, everybody should get to know kind of what each other's goals are. And that's just me. So anyways, that's all I had to ask for now.
Sure. Yeah. No. Thanks, no. I appreciate. I'll answer that, and I will move you back. Good lad. So yeah, for me, kind of like what I said before. I know I loosely said this earlier in my kind of 30-minute intro, 35-minute intro, where again, my goal is to keep playing. I mean, I'd love to see the thing about COD is it's so new, right? We don't know what is behind what's beyond Season 1+, technically, right? Even though SS1-2 is on Season 3, in direct Season 3. You okay? Yeah. Come on. That's why you got to be careful where you're going. Come on up. Oh. What, you want to sit? Okay, because girl, you're breaking my stuff. anyways, yeah. So I think. Sorry, excuse me. So I think I think the idea for me is to play as long as possible. And like I said, we're because the game is so young. Like for example, they're going to be coming out with a season 2 map, right? Some people may not know that. They've announced that they're designing a brand new kingdom map, and that's going to happen in season 2. Basically everyone is kind of in this infinite loop of S1 plus, right? Until we get there. So I think the game is so young, and there's just so much that we don't know on where they want to go with it. That to me is exciting. And to be honest, regardless if they go with it, I mean, the PvP alone is exciting enough for me to keep playing and keep being involved. So, yeah, the hope is, I mean, if I could play in one kingdom and it works out and we can hang out there for years and, build something really awesome, then yeah, that's great. I mean, for me, it's always kind of my general goal. Ooh, okay. Let's see. What else do we got here? Sorry, someone else has a hand up.
That's your face.
That is my face. OG's back. Let's see if OG's got some. I just want to make sure I'm still doing good on this recording. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, no, we're still going good. Would have sucked if I wasn't recording. All right. So I don't see any more hands up right now. Let me go and hit up some of the... again, I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. I know we're hitting an hour right now, a little over that. So thank you so much for hanging out with us, and the amount of people that have showed up has just been amazing. I think we peaked at 107 or 108 from at least what I had seen. So I'm going to go to the COD meeting questions channel real quick, and I just want to get some of these answered for us. So, and then I'll go back to the chat for anyone that's pinged me there. Tenchi asked, are we going to have farm alliances? Sorry if someone's already asked this. I don't... Okay, no, I just want to make sure that was the first one. Jimbo's like, same question. So the short answer is yes. We're basically going to have every alliance is going to make a second alliance per region. And that alliance will predominantly be for farms, also a staging alliance for other people that are trying to get into the main, but just can't yet because the capacity isn't high enough. And also it will allow for us to level up secondary alliances that we can use for war purposes, right? For those of you that have played, KVKs and Rock, how important it is to have a bunch of farm alliances for multiple reasons. More or less the same thing applies here in COD, right? Again, that kind of goes into investing early in your foundation to pay off dividends in the end. So yeah, and again, we might have more than one farm alliance or one secondary alliance that we'll use. But at least one is what we'll do. So for those of you that want to make farms, that you want to bust out 10 emails, 15 emails, and put your account in the same kingdom, right, there will be a place for those accounts. Voldemort asked, my app don't like me, not making me accept your invite. My question was, sorry, I don't know what's going on. Going PvP is only when it's demanded, like people bullying, etc. If this is the same, is this the same policy going into season 2? Because we're already have. This is a good question. Already have people grown enough to at least level 23 plus, even for normal free to play players. Yeah. So season 2 will be a little different, right? Because season 2, and let me point out let me say it like this. It could be different. There's also nothing stopping us from. There's also nothing stopping us from going into season 2 and everyone being on board. Like, we could get lucky and everyone in season 2, says, "Hey, boss, we saw what you guys did in your kingdom. We'd love to do that here," right? Where we just say, "Look, let's pick some fair sides to this, and let's just have an awesome brawl." Right? Has anyone here, out of random curiosity, has anyone here ever played like those custom no rush games and RTS games, like in custom lobbies, where you're playing like Age of Empires or something? I used to do this all the time, but I'm curious. Is anyone here? Do you guys even know what I'm talking about? Does anyone even know what I'm talking about? Just random curiosity. So some people. So anyways, like in these RTS games, right? They used to do these no rush lobbies. And essentially what no rush meant is you would do like no rush 30, no rush 40. And basically what happens is they give you 30, like you do a custom game, you start it up, it could be 1v1, 2v2, and they give you 30 or 40 minutes to just build up everything, right? You build as far as you can get, max tech, however many units, building your defenses, your walls, everything. And then when the timer's up, you all fight it out. Now, when I say this, for anyone who's not familiar, you might think, hey, that's actually pretty cool. That's like a dope idea. Something like that could technically be applied in Season 2 with Merged Kingdoms. The example would be everyone kind of starts in their own Zone 1 region, and then maybe we just all fight it out in Zone 2. Maybe we wait until we get to Zone 3, and then we fight it out. We basically force it to be like a traditional rock KVK. Remember, do not assume that your limits are what the game gives you. We could do whatever we want, right? We can make the game our little chickie poo. I'm going to use something PG rated, right? Again, that's something that I think a lot of players, or the majority of players, may not think about, is you don't have to play the game the way that the devs have intended it. You can play the game however you want. And as long as you have everyone on board and there's a like-minded approach, we could create the dopest KVK kingdom. Like, nobody wants to get wrecked in Zone 1, let's be honest, right? That's something I hope they change. Because right now the way they have it is it's basically like an Infinity Kingdom KVK, where you can go around and in the first Merge Kingdom, everyone can just run through anyone in Zone 1. That's not fun for anyone, because you're basically getting, immediately locked out / zeroed, whatever it is. That's not how you create sustainable PvP. That's not how you create long-term PvP or fun or a fun environment where that's going to garner a lot of activity and people to come out and say, yeah, I want to fight. It would be better if we can sell people. And this is something I'll try and do, right? This is a goal of mine. I want to try and get it to that, where we can sell this idea of, who cares what how the game is currently set up? Let's go and reach out to these other alliances, these other kingdoms, and let's try and do something creative. Let's try and push against the grain, right? Go upriver, if you will, and do something that hasn't been done yet and show people that it's possible. That's the kind of boundary pushing type approaches that I love to do. I love to be a part of. And so that to me is something that I would love to try first. And then worst case, if it just doesn't get there, if there's no way that we're ever going to do that because any alliances or kingdoms that are in the, our second season are just, they just don't want to do it that way, and that's understandable, right? It's not that we're forcing anyone to do it, but it's something that we're trying to sell people on, right? Something that they could believe in, and maybe they like the idea. But worst case, if not, then we'll fight it out, normal style. And the way that we probably distribute alliances and zones will be different. We probably won't do it the way we'll do it in a home kingdom. We'll probably condense into 2 or 3 regions, right? So again, there's going to be some changes to that. So I hope that answers the question. Voldemort. I wasn't sure if you had something else. Let me check. Hang on, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Created Sojourn Masters region.
I love you, Dad.
It may be. Let me see. Mowgli asked. Another question. It may be. How do I choose the region that my account is going to be created in? So when you're starting in your home kingdom, there you go. Go ahead, sweetie. Watch out for your foot. Thank you. When you're starting in your home kingdom, you can't. You'll get automatically put into a region. However, you will get region change items. You'll get 5 of those. So you can easily, for anyone that's worried about, joining the same region which your alliance is placed in, super easy. And I think I did a video on this as well on my channel. But yeah, not difficult at all. No one, you're not going to get misplaced or anything. Let's see here. Sorry, let me go to the next question, which is... what am I doing? One sec. Ooh, Love and Life again. Let's go here. Ooh, no, I didn't want to do that one. Oh, I did do the right one. Cool. All right, let's see. What else do I got? OG asks, how important is it to get along with smaller alliances that are substantially very low? So, good question. If you're asking kind of the opposite side of, let's say, like I was saying earlier, right, we want to try and elicit some level of organic growth within the regions and try and, find 2 to 3 alliances per Zone 1 region that are active, they're healthy, they're powering up. These are alliances and players that, we think are great, right? They could support the kingdom. Right, we just give people the opportunity to keep playing. But then look at the other side of it, which is, well, what about the alliances that, have a little bit of territory, they have some activity, but it's very low? The way that you approach those alliances is you look to try and assist them in either merging with other small alliances or in them joining a more kind of middle rank alliance, right? The idea isn't to filter and bolster the top 1%. It's to bolster the median average, right? The lower end, if you will. So you wouldn't take a small alliance and put them into a large alliance. You take a small alliance and you put it into a small/small medium alliance, and you bolster that. And if you can grab all the small alliances and put them into one alliance, you can turn that into another big, active, healthy alliance. And what does that do? That increases overall activity. Why? Because the smaller alliances are now in. They're now in an alliance that has a lot more activity, so now they're going to be more active in general. They'll be more engaged, they'll be more motivated, they'll participate more, and they might even socially talk more. And, nobody wants to play in an alliance where there's like one message being sent a day, in alliance chat, and you have low activity. So oftentimes it's about trying to create and nurture and support those types of opportunities. And again, those will be things that I'll do and others, maybe some others who want to help as well. But that's kind of my big focus, right? Because I'm not running an alliance. It allows me a lot more free time to focus on kind of the big picture and the macro things. Your second question, what are some mental notes if your alliance is doing great? How do you identify when to either be a sub or academy? So we don't believe in subs or academies here. Respectfully, I think that is a somewhat archaic concept. And I don't know how that ever became a thing. It confuses me. It doesn't make any sense. Every alliance should be a main alliance. I don't think you should be telling anyone that they're second string, third string, whatever it may be, which is oftentimes how that is perceived by the average player. Right? You should have very clear goals and explanations for what an alliance is and is not. It doesn't mean that people shouldn't do those things. I just don't believe in doing them. Right, I believe that every alliance should be a main alliance, and you should just have a farm or staging alliance or a secondary alliance that you're using for specific reasons. But it shouldn't be to classify it as a second or third string. I will never do that for any alliances. Third question: during the pass captures, how many alliances do you recommend to have when you're getting support? Honestly, you could do a pass with one alliance. And you could probably do it with, half your members or however many, depending on the level. And obviously there's other factors, how powerful are the players and how strong they are. But again, I have past videos that I've done recordings of for level 1, level 2, and level 3 passes in the first kingdom, and then also in the merged kingdom as well. So those videos are available. And one of the things I'm going to be doing as well is I'll be also, because this might be something someone may ask, and it kind of goes into what Noel was saying earlier, I'll be putting together a list of videos that I've put out that are good for players to watch, right? Or good for management to watch, things like that, where they can go and kind of do research on passes, behemoths, whether it's videos I've done or others have done, right? And I'll put together kind of a compiled list, right? A little library archive. So that way, people can kind of be, apprise themselves on the information and how to go about doing things. Rematch says, can you buy builder contracts, and if so, is it worth to buy them as free-to-play? What time does the server open? This may happen as already. And again, I know I also have to state when we're going to start, and I know that's another big thing, and I am going to let everyone know that as well. You can buy builder contracts. I think it's $5 to do it. Well, I should say that's for U.S. currency, I believe. You can also unlock a second builder by paying 5,000 gems. And then that'll do it for you. And then VIP 8 unlocks the second research building queue. If you're asking me, do I think it's valuable for free to play? 100%. I think if you're free to play, you should save up 5,000 gems and have that be the first thing you do. If you're not wanting to spend just $5 to do one unlock. One Leaf asks, excuse me. Oh, and then you said, what time is the server open? Honestly, we're not sure. I mean, the intervals right now can probably be anything from 5 to 15 hours. Somewhere probably in between there. One Leaf, when do we start? I will get to that. Let me see. Frank, oops, sorry. I shouldn't be coughing it right in the mic. Frank Montrose says, how much time am I asked to invest in the game to stay in Alliance? So, for example, if I have, for any reason, for 1 or 2 weeks, will my position be saved? Sorry if it has already been asked. Yeah, we don't have any type of minimum requirements or minimum spend requirements. I think that's laughable. I don't believe in that. But what I do believe in is activity versus inactivity. And that's one of the reasons why, we'll do things like power audits. We'll do tech audits every 2 to 3 days where we're basically just, gauging your general activity. I think something that is also really good to do with group chats for the alliances is everyone should have a group chat that says something like time off or vacation or away for the game or something like that. Time off I think is an easy one, and then that way players can post in there when they're taking time off or if they're going to be away for a day or two or something comes up. So that way everyone can be apprised of who's here, who's not here type of a thing. I think that's really important to do. So yeah. And obviously your Alliance Discords should probably have a channel like that as well, so it isn't just in-game. But yeah, I hope that answers the question, right? Our Chaos says, is there going to be a power requirement at any point? No. The reason why is because if you're active, you're leveling. If you're inactive, you're not leveling. I think it's pretty straightforward in that sense. So, and it's a lot easier to do that than to place power requirements. So, if you're inactive and you're not playing that much, then maybe you'll get moved down to rank 1. If you're rarely or barely playing, or if you haven't, donated to tech in a couple days, or you've only gained 1,000 power in a couple days, I mean that makes sense on why you would remove a player like that. But the important thing is that for anyone that does remove a player, you should always message them right before they're removed and explain why they're being removed, and then also if they do want to play again or rejoin, to reach out, or maybe they go into the staging alliance or the second alliance for a minute before they then come back to the main. So there's a couple ways to go about it, but I do think it's important that we reach out to those players and explain to them why they were removed, so we are having a healthy level of conversations that are being done, and not just removing people and then them coming back on and saying, hey, why I was removed, right? You should always be following up with people. That's just professional courtesy, and it's due diligence. I hope that answers the question. Sorry, I'm not even back on the chat yet. Let's make sure no one messaged me here. No, I'm good. Okie dokie. Let me go back to the town hall and see what we got going on there, if there's any questions in chat that I can answer. And then I'll keep looking at the COD meeting thing just in case something pops up there. Oh, let's see here. Questions in here. Oh, sorry. Did someone have their hand raised? Apologies. Here we go. On Samek. Ansamek, if you're there, I just called on you if you'd like to. And again, if anyone wants to come on and speak or ask a question, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, if it's more appropriate to text, feel free. And then I'm going to go through just a couple questions, and then I'm going to get to when we're going to start, because again, I know that's a big thing people are waiting to hear. Okay, I'll remove Ansamek, and then if you want to come back on, you just let me know. Okay, let me take a look here at the stage channel chat real quick. So, I don't know if anyone pinged me here, or if there's any questions. Yeah. Kiss You says, so the gems from beginning should be saved for that. Yeah. I think there's one of two ways, right? You're either going to save the gems and then immediately unlock the builder, which I think you should do. Or if you're going to spend for the builder, then your gems should just start going into VIP. Someone actually told me, I think it was Outlaw, and I didn't realize this until he mentioned it to me, but I guess I think you said it was the VIP, the video that Chisgul did, the VIP one. Somewhere around like 4:50 or 5 minutes, I think it was. Because Outlaw mentioned it to me, I had no idea. I guess Chisgul gave me a shout out for helping, because we were chatting for a little bit about some things, and I guess he gave me a shout out on his VIP video. But in short, my view on VIP is pretty simple. I think VIP is just it's a long-term great investment that is going to pay dividends in future seasons. It's also going to help you level up your heroes faster and getting more EXP faster in future seasons as well. So my view on gems is simple. Max to VIP 15, and then you spend gems on everything else, with a few exceptions. If there's, let's say, a hero that unlocks on something that you need gems for, right? You could argue spending to do the unlock, but if it's you're free to play light spend, my recommendation, and really for anyone, my recommendation is just max VIP 15 as fast as you can. That really should be the primary focus, and then you can spend your gems on other things, right? Again, albeit something exclusive that you can only get when that specific time comes up, and there's no way of getting it any time else. All right, let's see. Ooh, is Onsimek back? Let's see here. I think we just invited you. Should be able to click something on your... You have to, like, click join or something. Oh, that's cool. Dean said you play yourself. Yeah, I'll be playing. And I'll be spending a little bit, too. So... Which will probably be the first game that I actually actively want to spend a little bit in. Okie dokie. So I think we're good so far on questions thus far. Very light spend for me, though. You know, got a budget with the kids, at least until the cheddar bacon starts rolling in from YouTube, if it does. So yeah, okay. So given and let me first off say I want to quote just so I can get this on the record as well. I'm just going to take a look real quick at the start poll here for the COD. So at the moment we have 107. I have to minus my thing from the one. From both, right? So we have 170 in favor of starting tomorrow, April 2nd, and we have 42 in favor of starting Friday, April 7th. Again, as I indicated on this poll, for reiteration and continued transparency, this poll was not meant to be indicative of whatever the vote resulted in is when we were going to start, but I did want to give the community an opportunity to hear from them on when they would like to start. So that way we can kind of take that feedback appropriately. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you guys my answer, and then I'm going to explain and provide some context there as well on why I think it's important. So my view, and it kind of leads into part of what I was saying in here, right, is for me, I want to give everyone the best opportunity to invest into their account as much as humanly possible. Typically in the beginning stages is always going to be more important than the later stages, especially because you're typically doing a lot more clicking, you got a lot more actions that you're doing early on when your account is just starting versus when you're kind of already at like level 20 as an example, right? Things slow down a little bit more as you progress. Because of that, what I have decided is that we are going to be starting on Friday, April 7th. And outside of that explanation, the other reason is because there's a few important reasons here. One, we will actually be able to recruit a lot more people from now until Friday. We could also, as number two, possibly find some more alliance leaders, which would be great. It's not needed, but it would be great. Number three, it allows for players to pre-plan and schedule out time for themselves. So if they need to take a day off, if you need to rearrange your schedule, you can do that for you. Number four, because we're starting on a Friday, it allows for us to have the weekend, which typically on average, the majority of players will have more time available to themselves. Now, you can make the argument that the same thing will happen for anyone else who goes to the kingdom, but not everyone else is going to be in the biggest group in the kingdom, right? Hopefully, and for the most part. So it does lend more of an advantage and more of a benefit to us versus the kind of average player who would be joining the kingdom that we land in. I'm trying to think if there's any other good reasons. I mean, I think that's more or less enough. The fifth thing I'm going to say, I also understand that some players really want to start right away. If anything, I would like to hope that this decision is a consistent testament to my integrity. For anyone that has played, I mean, again, there's quite a few people in this project that have played with me in previous projects, and you know that I highly value a level of quality preparation as much and as often as we are able to within an allotted time. There is no rush technically to start. There's no hard deadline that we have to meet outside of, again, right, the urge to start, which I completely understand and I get. Because of that, I also have no problem, and I even recommend it for those of you that would like to go and join another project because you just do not want to wait another 6 days. Completely understand. No hard feelings. regardless if you're a lead, if you're an officer, if you're a player. I only wish you the best. And you need to play when and where for what makes you happy. And also for possibly what your time commitments are. I don't know everyone's situation, but I will always be understanding of everyone's situation. So for those of you that do decide that you would like to go join another one, again, I only wish you the best. With that in mind, are there any questions in regards to that as well? And I don't know if there's anything else, any other questions that maybe got asked in the COD thing. They didn't. Okay, let me scroll up here. Let me scroll up here. So, just double. Oh, here we go. On drills. Let me go here. Take a bite.
Hello.
Andres, what's up?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
As you can see, I'm an officer of the project, and I wanted to ask a question. Even though we are free to play friendly, which that is a great thing anyway, wouldn't it be smarter for us to wait for a little bit longer than tomorrow to start, so we can build our member count a little bit higher?
Yeah. So I don't know if you just joined, but or if you have, you just may not have heard me say it. I just covered that though this past 60 seconds or 2 minutes. So I let everyone know that we are going to be starting on April 7th on Friday.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear.
Oh no, it's okay. No, it's all right. Again, I would never assume that you had been here the whole time. I just figured maybe you just joined. So no worries at all. I will move you back, and let me read some chat stuff real quick. It's the weekend. What you got? Whole week is weekend for me. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I also understand that it is Easter weekend, but bear in mind, it's one of the great things about having a phone, right? You'll always be able to find time. Compared to, and you'll be able to find more time on average throughout the day versus, the average work week where you may only have time at the end of the day and not necessarily, when you're at your job. So, our Good Friday. Let me see here. Time frame for Good Friday. Honestly, it really is just going to depend. I mean, there's no way of necessarily knowing. I mean, we'll gauge it probably on Wednesday and Thursday to see what the interval times are to try and get an idea for when Friday is going to open, and we'll make sure that we let everyone know in advance. And I should also mention the other reason as well why Friday is just going to work out better is because it gives us a little bit more time to establish more infrastructure, get some more announcements out so we can start setting expectations appropriately. And also finish off with some of the players that still need to be assigned alliances. So there is some good reasoning on why Friday is going to be the start, outside of not only it just being a good start to a weekend, right? And I also wouldn't want to assume that every single person, because it is Easter weekend, is going to be occupied 24/7 for the entirety of every day across that weekend. I'm sure everyone will have time, and on average, if you consider the entire day for each of the weekends, more time than the average amount of time you'd be able to put in on the week, right? So, for me, and again, that's why I say on average, because some people, everyone has a different situation. You might work from home. I think someone said in there, right, their weekday is their weekend, right? So again, there is some. But again, for me, I'm more so playing the percentages, along with the important reasons on why it's going to pay off better for us by just waiting a little bit. Yeah. Halen, so again, I did cover this as well. Where I explained why I wanted to do a vote, because I just wanted to get a temperature gauge. And I specifically said that in the post as well, if you go back and read it. This is one of the important reasons why, I always like to reiterate it's important to make sure that you read everything and read it in its entirety. So you can always have a good understanding, and more importantly, you can have a realistic expectation on, why something is being done or why was something written, which we did take time to explain. And I think I want to say I also explained it a little while ago as well. But again, I think it's important to be able to hear from the community and to kind of take temperature gauges on, on where people are coming from. It also doesn't mean that every single person who voted for Sunday is unable to play on Friday, right? You can almost take the vote as more of a preference, right? Not as an absolute. But again, if it was something where it was like 2 people vote and it was like 250 people voted on Sunday, to me, I think I would have weighted that a little bit more. So it's not as though I went in saying that it was going to be Friday all along, even though I liked Friday personally more. There was a decent, even though a smaller amount that did vote for Friday. But after not only considering that, but the other factors, I felt it was a little bit more important to, again, play to those percentages and choose for a Friday start. So much going. Yeah. So, let's see. Where's Trip? Tripper. Bum bum bum.
Hello.
What up, girl? Hit me with your shell talk.
Is Friday set in stone, or are you open to talk about it? Because the last time we did a jump, it was on July 4th, and you yourself were taking a vacation, and it was I didn't realize it was Good Friday until they just pointed it out, and I'm sorry, but I don't think it's a good idea. Is there any way we could start it a little bit earlier in the week, or is there any kind of conversation that we can have?
Let me think. Monday.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay.
Take it off.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm not pushing for Sunday, but I'm just saying that a holiday is just.
Let me think, because
if we go in before
Monday, Tuesday, Sunday,
then. I guess my real question is just: are you open to it? I don't need to be.
No, I mean, no. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I don't even think about my own situation, and I know I'm doing stuff with family too as well. So maybe I did prematurely go all in on that. Sometimes I don't even think about what I'm doing. I just almost assume I just have all the time in the world. Yeah, I really would want to start it. Well, the weekday pains me, so. I'm trying to think. Monday, Tuesday. I mean, if that's the case, I guess I could see a Sunday or Monday start now. Okay, so let's do this. What we'll do is, yeah, I just know how difficult it would be if we pushed it to Monday. I mean, it's just on average for the time that people have. Okay, so let's do this. Let me rescind what I said for all those reasons. Even though I still believe in it, the challenge is that I now that I'm thinking about it and just looking through my schedule as well, I know the lady has us doing a couple things. So, and Trip does bring up a good point, which is that you know, it's obviously good for me to be there too, as well, as much as I can in the beginning. Okay, so all right, so this is what we'll do. Let me see how much we can get done today, and if and see, they're like, delay another week until Friday. No. I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, again, I mean, we're the point we're at right now. I mean, we're good to go. It's just a matter of trying to get as many more people that we can get to kind of join up and get in. So, this is what we'll do. Let me see how much we can get done today, and I will say this: we will soft look at starting tomorrow on Sunday. Worst case Monday. But again, let me see how much we can get done today, and if we can get some of these final things together, then I'll put out an announcement for us to start with a kind of April 2nd to April 3rd window. So let me do that, and again, see how much we can get done first. So yeah, Null. Oh, Null has to come. Come on, Null.
Yeah. Okay. So, just wanted to ask real quick. You know that you've been having me basically look at other projects, so
Yeah.
please keep that in mind based off of my spreadsheet timeline of the other projects. When you go to consider of when we're going to start on Sunday, Monday, or earlier than Friday, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, if you're not going to do it on Friday, but you might do it earlier than Friday, please, keep in mind my spreadsheet of all the projects, the start times, and all that type of stuff when you go to consider that. Because you don't want to do it on a day where I've told you like 5 projects are going to start that day. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I need to look real quick because I don't think there was anyone I saw starting on the 2nd that was that big. And let me just check.
Let me pull it up right now.
Yeah, I'm just checking the group
I'm going to
chat.
pull it up right now.
I got one group here starting 7/8. I got one starting April 5th. Yeah, because I got that group chat with all the other leads, but I don't see anyone on the 2nd or the 3rd.
Wild Wolves is April. Yeah. Holy Imperial Orders the 5th.
Yeah.
Wild Wolves is on April 8th. Hydra Project is on April 6th.
Yeah.
Some of them have already done the releases already.
Yeah. Is there anyone on 2, 3?
And,
on 2 or 3?
And that's not it.
Okay. Yeah. So
somebody. Well, on the 1st, Dragon Dynasty is doing theirs on the 1st. Ecstatics is doing theirs on the 1st, which is today. And that looks like it's it.
Okay.
Dave's Guild I didn't know about because he never responded. And then the other ones, like I said, there's one on the 5th, one on the 6th, and one on the 8th. So far, I haven't seen any of them on the 7th. But like I said, I just want you to kind of remember the list that I gave you on my spreadsheet of, the projects and the start times when you go to consider what day it is you actually want to do earlier than the 5th or the 7th.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, and I had looked at it as well, and then also just went back and looked at the leader group chat that I have as well, and no one here is listed for the 2nd or 3rd, which is nice. And again, I don't think there's going to be anyone that's probably going to be our size anyways. So, okay, you guys got lucky. Trip reeled me back in to reality.
Like I said, that's it. I'm sorry.
So. No, you're good. You're good. No worries, man. You are good. No worries. Yeah. So, if anything, apologies there. Like I said, sometimes I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing as well, and I should have factored that in. And that should have factored that in additionally, because the one thing that would be worse than even that is me being able to be there and available for everyone. First off, it wasn't April Fool's. That's so funny though, because it is April. It is April 1st. So totally was not on purpose. I promise. It's just, again, sometimes I'm not even considering my own situation for what I'm doing on a day to day, especially when I'm so tunnel vision and focused on what we're doing now. So like I said, let me do that. Right. Let's get as much done as we can today. And again, I'll coordinate with the leaders and possibly some of the officers, and then we'll aim for either tomorrow or Monday as a start, because I think April 2nd or 3rd, again, based on the data Noel's gathered, which again, appreciate him taking the time to do that. And then also, also being able to jump in that group chat from that data and pull a bunch of leads. It looks like we should be good for those days. So that's what we'll do. We'll get as much done as we can today. And then I will try and get an announcement out as early as I can, maybe by this afternoon, to let everyone know kind of the direction that we're going to go. And again, apologies for, I will take any heat for that, though it was not my intention. I wish I thought about what I'm doing as well outside of, what I'm hoping to do for the group. So, and also hopefully this goes to show that, again, always nice to be open to hear people out and to have good conversations with people, right? Also shows that, it's easy when you can be swayed with some good logic, even when I may not have been thinking about it myself. So everyone can worship Trip from now on as your savior and warlord. So, and bow down to the power of the turtle. So, can I propose so much? Let's see here. Sorry, let me open some chats up. Why we should? Can I propose a logic why we should start in May instead? HTX killing me over here. Okay, so that's what. So again, that's what we're gonna do. So again, thanks. I think we're pretty good here. I'm going to leave this open just for another minute in case there's any questions. Any questions that anyone still has, just so I can answer. And let me see here. Oh, hang on. There's a few more here. Do you think it would be smart to make an account to trial the game while we wait for the start date? 100%. I know a bunch of people have already done that. Again, we're looking at a 24 to 48 hour window right now before we start, give or take. But yeah, if you want to start an account now and just play a little bit, sure. Outlaw says also thinks some of the big spender projects probably will have gone by Friday, and they may also be aiming for more of a weekend start too as well. I think that's why sometimes you'll see congestion for projects typically on weekend dates, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, more or less, and maybe even Friday, Saturday, compared to like a Sunday through Thursday. Frank Montre says, do we need to be in the same faction for the Alliance? No, you do not. It's a good question, though. You don't have to. Infinity Kingdom was like that, where you had to kind of be a part of the same faction to join alliances and alliances within that faction, so it was limited in that way, but not in COD. You can be any faction you want, and it's more region. It's like region locked, right? You have to join alliances that are in those specific regions. So, yeah. I feel bad. I wonder. I bet you a couple people left the server like the moment that I just said Friday, and I do feel bad about it. So if you know anyone that did, please take time to let them know. My apologies. Okay. With that in mind, so I'm not just hanging around all day long, and I can go and be productive to try and get us to that state as soon as possible. Alim, you said, who's the Sun Tzu of COD? Probably Liliana. Well, maybe Waldir. Liliana could probably be like the oh my gosh, why am I forgetting the name? Who's the archer guy? Whoever the archer guy is, it's escaping me right now. But archer guy is kind of Liliana, and then Waldir Valen is probably Sun Tzu. So yeah. Okay. Let me let you guys go, because my lady's calling me right now, and again, we're at about, where am I at, an hour and a half, so I want to first and foremost thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Sorry for the heart attack scare. Again, I'll take any hate, any direction, please send my way, and we're going to be trying to update everyone closer to the afternoon. So thank you guys so much, and as always,